Hi guys, it's Katie. I just pulled a bunch of fun things out of the garden. I got quite a few tomatillos, I got some jalapenos, I got lots of these plum tomatoes, and I also have some onions and garlic that I pulled out of the garden earlier this year that have been curing. And I'm going to put all of this together and I'm going to make some fermented salsa, red salsa and green salsa. So I'm going to get these washed up. So the tomatillos have sort of a sticky sap on them. If you've never worked with them before, I just rinse them under cool running water. You're never really going to get rid of it fully, so as long as I get any dirt or debris that's stuck in the sap off, I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, now I have everything cleaned up and I'm just going to chop everything up and put it in this jar, and I kind of just do it as I fill up the jar, that way I can see how much of everything that I need. You can use any recipe that you like. The only thing you have to really concern yourself with is having enough salt. And the magic number is 2 to 4 teaspoons per quart. That'll give you enough salt to keep the bad bacteria at bay until the good bacteria can take hold. So you want to start with 2 teaspoons. I wouldn't go too much more shy than a full 2 teaspoons. And then you can taste it, and if you think it needs more salt, you can always add a little bit more, up to 4 teaspoons per quart. But you want to not go any less than 2 teaspoons, or else you'll risk your salsa molding or getting an overgrowth of yeast. For the red salsa, I'm just going to cut it with a knife. I like sort of a coarse pico de gallo texture for the red salsa. And then for the green salsa, I'm going to pulse it in my blender food processor. And you can do them both in the blender or chop them both. It just depends on your preference of texture. So you can use this just like any other salsa. You can eat it with chips. You can put it on top of grilled chicken as a favorite way to have it. The green salsa is just really, really good. You can put it over fish, chicken, anything. Usually when I make salsa, I like to add cilantro and lime. I'm not going to add those, one, because I like the idea that all of this came out of my garden, and two, I'm not going to add the lime because when this ferments, you're going to get a little bit of a sour tang from the fermentation, so the lime juice really isn't necessary. And if you wanted to, you could seed these tomatoes. I don't bother. If you have really large tomatoes like this type of tomato, it might be a good idea. But for these sort of plum tomatoes, they're usually pretty meaty with not too much in the way of seeds. I got a good amount of tomatoes in. I'll go ahead and put some onions in. So I got my onions and my garlic. I'm just going to layer them a little bit at a time. I also have a random cucumber from the garden. I'm going to go ahead and add that as well. Also going to add jalapeno. These are kind of small, so I'll go ahead and leave the seeds in. Okay, so for the green salsa, again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. So put some tomatillos in. I'm going to put the same onion, jalapeno, and garlic in. A good handful of onion in there. Some garlic. I am going to add one non-garden ingredient to my green salsa. It's just because I really like a touch of cumin, and that's just to taste, if you like it. If not, leave it out. Also throw that other jalapeno in. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put this in the mason jar. I'm going to do a second batch so I can fill this up. 2 teaspoons of salt again. And I'll just give this a quick stir. Give it a little taste. It tastes really good the way it is. It's homemade salsa, so it should taste good just like this. It's just going to continue to ferment and pick up more complex flavors and get a little bit like deeper and richer and a little more tangy and sour. So make sure you taste at the beginning. It should taste good, and then you can taste it each day as it ferments. So I'm going to use a plastic lid. You could also use a 2-part lid, or if you have a lid with an airlock. You just want to make sure you're kind of hand tightening it, and be careful when you open it because gas can build up and it can kind of spew out, and especially if you make a pretty hot salsa, it could be kind of dangerous. So when you're opening it, you can either put a towel over top like this if you think it's going to make a big mess, Or just open it, you know, really slowly and see if you hear a hiss before you just go and open it up. The tomato salsa is making its brine. So I'll just shake this every couple of hours as I walk past it. And you should get a pretty good amount of brine. But like I said, it doesn't need to cover it by several inches, just as long as most of the vegetables are in a brine. If not, you can add a little bit of salt water. So just make a 2% brine, 2 grams of salt for every 100 grams of water, and top it off with that. So these are ready to just sit on the counter and ferment. We'll check on them a couple times throughout the process so you can see what they look like. They may or may not show signs of fermentation. Sometimes they'll get bubbly just like other veggie ferments, but it's a really quick ferment, so sometimes it doesn't. The biggest way to know if it's fermenting is by taste. So taste it now and then taste it each time you check on it. All right, so we'll just put these over on the counter. All right, so it's only been a few hours. I don't know if you can see, but the brine's already up to here. So just has a little ways to go, and it's also shrunk down quite a bit. So I have chopped up another tomato. I'll go ahead and add that just to top off my full quart. And the extra tomatoes will help make some extra brine as well. All right, here's the salsas the next morning. Nice amount of brine on the red salsa. They both look the same as they did yesterday. So what I do is you can either stir them or just shake them. Since these aren't completely submerged, that will just help kind of disturb the surface so that mold or yeast won't accumulate there. So just kind of give both of them a quick shake. And you want to do that 2 to 3 times a day. But so far, they're looking good. All right, so here's what this salsa looks like. I think it's been 3, maybe 4 days. And every 8 to 12 hours, I just come through and stir it and then sort of press it down again. And I haven't really seen too much bubbles. It didn't get pressurized or anything like that. In the green salsa, it's a little bit thicker, so some bubbles have been trapped. I don't know if you'll be able to see. But either way, I've tasted these. I tasted them last night and then I just tasted them this morning. They taste nice and tangy and sour the way I like them. They taste really good. So these are going to go ahead and go in the refrigerator. And I will be enjoying these on grilled chicken and grilled fish and with tortilla chips and with any kind of Tex-Mex meal. One of the great things about fermented salsas and fermented vegetables in general is it helps preserve them slightly. So this will last in the fridge quite a bit longer than just regular homemade salsa. So when you're eating fermented foods, you have to use your senses. Look at it, smell it, taste it. If it tastes off, looks off, or smells off, you know, don't risk it, throw it away. But for the most part, it should last in your refrigerator for 2-3 weeks. I'll probably eat this up before then. But anyway, that's how you make fermented salsa. If you have any questions about fermentation, you can check out my fermentation playlist. I have quite a few videos already. And if you have any questions that aren't answered in those videos, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. I'll try to answer your questions. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.